Hello everyone, Alternating Bit here, and I basically thought I would demonstrate the Akai MPK61 as a MIDI controller. There's a lot of options out there nowadays, and there are also a lot of other demos out there on YouTube, but I thought I'd add my 2 cents to the mix. Basically, I chose this as my controller keyboard for music production with Propellerhead's Reason program, and that's hence the sticker. That's just something I added, which is not normally on here. So anyway, so the MPK61, there's obviously the 49 and the 25 and even the 88, which has hammer-weighted keys. For me, 61 keys is actually the perfect amount. I feel that 49 is actually really, really good. I just like to have that little bit of extra room without having to always hit the octave, down and up, which is, it's easy to do. You got some keys here, but then you always have to kind of truncate around. To me, 61 is just a perfect amount. Just enough to be able to do some playing for fun if you want, and also composition if you're working stuff. You can kind of have a wider range to work with. The keys for the Akai MPK61 and the 49 and so on are semi-weighted, and I've seen other videos where people compare the weight. I didn't even get to a store and try it out first, but based on the reviews I read, comparing like to Axiom and Oxygen series, this kind of got ranked as the best feel. It has a nice kind of weight to it. It's not too heavy, of course, like the hammer, but it's just has the perfect amount of resistance and feel. So that's what I went for. That was very important to me. The other section that, most videos, it seems like whenever you do a search on YouTube for the Akai MPK, usually it's the 49 is the more popular one. Everybody's focusing right here on these pads. There's nothing but countless videos, beat making with, and all they show is these guys doing this the whole time. I'm like, if you want a pad controller like that for drums, just get that, a controller for drums. I don't understand that, but get yourself in a PC or something. But I'm gonna, I never use these pads actually. I got this as a controller for keys, and of course controls for the program as well, and also for the sequencer and stuff like that. So that's what I use it for. But hey, to each his own. One thing that people do love about these pads is the fact that they do have apparently like the best feel and a good size and a good amount. So if that is important to you, then great. You also like this note repeat thing where if you hit a let me just select the drum machine here in my program. So if you hit if you do note repeat, that's based on the time division you have it set for. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Obviously a fun thing to do also live, in a live aspect or whatever. So anyway, so moving on. So yes, it comes with your basic pitch, bend, and modulation wheel, which are illuminated, which is kind of nice. And then you have, for your keyboard, you have a built-in arpeggiator, actually. Not all controllers have this, and that's a nice feature. So if you have let me get to a synthesizer at least, so I can use some regular sounds here. All right, I'm going to select a different sound for this. Actually, all right, we'll use this. So the arpeggiation, I hit that. And then you can change that with your time division, so you can make it faster or slower. That's just a really, really cool feature to have. So it has a built-in arpeggiator. It has a latch key, so latch feature. So if you just tap one key, that's how that works. So that's pretty cool. So these are your performance controls. There's also a split feature. Oh, and your pads have different banks, so it's more than what's here. It's 4 times the amount than what's here. And the same thing goes for these controls right here. So basically for your sliders, even though there are 8 here, you actually have 3 times that amount because there's control banks A, B, and then C, which is the combination of A and B. So that's really cool. You're going to hear me reference Reason frequently because that's what I use, but at least for Reason, I know that what's kind of cool is, as a default, the 7 and 8 activation buttons for the time division actually control the sound choices you have for your sound bank. So if you're with a synth and then you just change that, wait, I had it on the wrong setting. It changes your settings. Also, it changes, if you have it set to A, it changes your devices in your rack. So you flip through another keyboard and you get to go there. So changing sounds is easy as a click. Another neat thing is these buttons are a hard click. You know, not only do they illuminate, but they're a nice hard click. So it's not like it doesn't feel cheap. And if I can say also about these sliders, they're also that's something else that got reviewed a lot. People saying, and I actually had Oxygen 25 many years ago. And the sliders feel real plastic and cheap. Now, granted, these heads are plastic, but the slider pot itself feels, you have a nice resistance to it. They feel really, really good. They have just kind of more professional feel to them. The Rotary Pots also are highly ranked. One feature that's nice about them is they have an infinite torque, so you can go, 360 or just keep going or whatever. There's no fixed stop, and they do have a nice resistance to them. Again, plastic heads, but they have a very nice feel to them. So that's a real good part about this keyboard, is just these controls feel, they have a nice professional feel to them. What else can I say? They don't feel cheap, in other words. Then you have your control bank here for your sequencer controls. So you have your play, your stop, and then you can scroll through your sequence. You have your octave changes, tap tempo feature, and then you have all your settings. This keyboard has built-in global presets for all the top programs: Ableton Live, Reason, Cubase, Sonar, FL Studio, and then there's some I can't even pronounce on because these are abbreviated. Applid, AC, I don't know what that is. FX, Pan, BFD, G Media, Rob Papin, Stylus, Virus or Virtual Synth, I guess, GM Drums, Arceus, VJ, Chromatic. Yeah. So anyway, and there's many presets that you can save in here so that whatever you set up the way you like it. The other neat thing is like with Reason again, the default Propellerhead instruments are already mapped to this. So basically, if you throw on a subtractor, right, and then you choose that sound, you're automatically going to have like these first 2 sliders, which is probably the most common thing you'd be playing around with, are the filter frequency and the resonance. This is the resonance. So that's just pretty cool. What I did actually was I bought a separate controller, a Behringer BCR 2000 or something like that. It has a bunch of knobs on it because I don't personally like having to go through these banks. I mean, it's nice that you have 8, that's cool, but with these virtual synthesizers, they have a lot of controls to tweak. And you could easily just defend and say, well, you're only going to use certain main ones, and that's true. But I like to have them all in front of me, and I don't like to have to remember. Oh, wait a minute, this was bank 2, slider 5, or whatever. So that's why I got a separate controller. But compact wise, and just to have a MIDI controller keyboard that has the option to have controls is awesome. So, and this is a great choice for that. I basically did some research. What I really like about this, also coming out of the box, was the weight. It has a nice heft to it. I mean, it feels like I remember, like a Juno 106 or something. It has a lot of weight to it. It's not a flimsy controller at all. So this is, a Pro-Line keyboard, the Akai MPK61. I highly recommend it. In the 49 version would be awesome too. It depends upon what kind of space you're working with and what your needs are. But I highly recommend this keyboard as a controller, and I hope this helped. Like it if you do. Like it if it does help. Oh man.